Since 2016, CABRI has been supporting teams of government officials across Africa to tackle locally nominated problems. This work uses the PDIA, or Problem-Driven Iterative Adaptation approach, to foster country ownership and to build public finance capabilities. Using the PDIA approach, country teams address the real causes of the problem through a process that allows for experimentation and learning as progress is made. Sheila Thibe, who manages the Public Finance Statistics Unit at the National Treasury of South Africa, was part of a team that addressed the problem of data gaps in budget information. In this video, Sheila reflects on how the team worked to tackle the problem, how they quantified the problem, gained acceptance for the actions they were going to take, and the progress made by a team of dedicated officials.
The problem that we faced was data that could not be used. At least that's how we saw it when we first approached it. The data that we had in the system was such that we had to first work on it every time there's a request. So it was not usable in the state in which it was in the system. So for example, if we had a query from the Auditor General about some spending item that in their normal process of consolidating government spending they'll come across, we had to then go and bring down, get the data from the system, but we had to first regroup it and check whether all the data is there. If it's not there, we would maybe phone departments to ask to have the fillers for that data gap. So it took longer than is necessary to actually respond to the queries, because sometimes you had things like the program structures have changed over the years, and if the data query requires a time series, you had to then try and figure out how that data has changed. And if you are figuring out how the data has changed, it literally means that you have to reconfigure it, and you make some assumptions about the data to be able to reconfigure it. You would finally get to an acceptable level of answer, but it took long. We looked for the data itself, went into the systems, and we checked. There are various systems. So we have the PESAL system, we have the basic accounting system, we have the procurement system. So we requested cross-sections of data from each of those systems, and we analyzed to see what is there, and we found that there were gaps in the data, and some columns that were supposed to be completed were not completed. So the data really told the story. I think the problem was generally known by those that use the data in the department, but we just didn't know what we should do about it. So it was a question of just repackaging this information in a way that tells the story and shows how the missing or the gaps in the data is detrimental to our processes, and then target the right people, those that are the end users of this information, and show them what we actually do before they get the information. Because treasuries are run on a set of rules and standards and international standards. So the idea that we could actually deviate from those standards and come up with something new and fresh and innovate was very exciting to us. Even if we did not know what was going to come out of it, it was just exciting to have the opportunity to do that. So we are very excited about challenging the status quo. It was exciting. I decided that I'm going to make sure that I immediately start mobilizing the person who's in charge of the score and the partners, and explain the process while I still have that drive, so that they also catch on the excitement. The team was initially from two groups, the budget office and the office of the accountant general. We used the PDIA concept that everyone in the team is a leader. So right from the onset, we're very clear to everyone that at certain points you'll be asked to lead the process. And we also recognize what each person is going to bring into the team, thereby motivating them. Then, because it stopped being my project to being their project. So there were various assumptions that we're making about the possible reasons why the data had gaps. We thought that maybe people didn't understand the system. We thought maybe the training was not good enough. We felt that maybe also the systems were too old, and high staff turnover was one of the things that we keep retraining, and then we get new people who actually don't know how to process. People doing shortcuts in the system where they don't really want to complete the information the way it was. It could have also been that maybe this chart of accounts that we have has got too many segments and it makes people lazy. Initially, we had a survey to find out whether all our assumptions are true. And after the survey, the results told us that our assumptions were not entirely true, because the respondents told us that there was nothing wrong with the training. We found out that at times it's because the people who were being trained were not the right people. In some units, you'll find that they would say people at a certain level are the ones who get trained, regardless of whether they're the ones who are transacting or not. So the people who were supposed to be involved, the system controllers, were not the ones who were selecting people who are supposed to go and get trained. So that was one of the biggest problems. And then also support. The respondents felt that we're not giving them enough support, which is why things were falling through the cracks. But the training itself, there was nothing wrong with it. We had a focus group meeting where we then had a robust discussion, and they told us what was not right in as far as they were concerned, and we formed that focus group. Then the approach now was to tackle all the things that they had said was wrong, like the support, the website that's not working, engagement with the CFOs and the SISCONs. So the reconstitution of the SCORE committee and the formulation of the SCORE champions. The SCORE committee is actually the technical group that assists departments in advising them on how to transact and making sure that all the standards are up to scratch and the data standards are met. And then the champions, people who sit within the departments, in the provinces, in the national sphere, who will then champion all the things that the SCORE committee is doing. So it's like our ambassadors in the departments. So the SCORE champions we had to do a terms of reference, which was done by the SISCONs themselves. So in the end, we merged the focus group and these champions because it was coming from the same group, so that they then take on the work of the SCORE to the departments. Then we have live representatives of everything that we do. When we finished the first phase, when we'd responded to all the issues that were raised by the focus group and the champions, we then decided, let's do the phase two. The phase two was, we decided that it's linking to the IFMS, the new financing system that we are implementing at the Treasury, and trying to say that let's make sure that the new system does not get the old problems imported into the system. And then we started trying to engage with the IFMS team. We asked for a meeting, they gave us a meeting. In that meeting, we did not really get what we thought we were going to get, because they approached us as business, not as partners. They were running on their own schedule. So then at some point, we then realized that I think we need to back off a little bit and give them space, and then we will catch up. The relationship building was the most critical part, because previously it was always us and them, the Treasury and then the departments. But now we have got partners in the departments we know we can ask them for support. We've had projects with the Accountant General where we co-write some of the circulars and some of the policies that need to be implemented, and we working together into those projects and support each other, and we have support of the systems controllers in the provinces. So that is a huge success. The inconsistencies, they've gone down quite a bit. We were sitting at around 1% of the data. Now we are below 0.2% of the data having inconsistencies. I find that the SCORE champions that we set up are really championing the cause for SCORE. National Treasury is busy implementing the IFMS project. We are going into the piloting phase. So the team went out to the provinces and the departments that have been selected to pilot. And while they were there, some of the SCORE champions were in the forum. So they asked the question, but where is the SCORE committee? Because for us to implement this, the standard chart of accounts has to be engaged. And when we had our quarterly meeting with the SCORE champions, they brought up that issue. And we agreed that then in our next engagement, we should engage the IFMS team so that we see the way forward. So for me, that is helpful because we had taken a step back to say, let's wait for the IFMS team to get to where we are and then engage with them. But we can see that now we're getting a push from the users themselves that are saying, but we need to see what role the SCORE committee is playing in all this, which is a good thing because they are being ambassadors for us, even within our own department.